If you're new to our channel, we'd love to have you join our little community. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We promise it will be worth your while.
Oh well, I shrugged. There's nothing we can do about it now. I wonder what she talked to Miss Welch for half an hour about. I wanted to ask Miss Welch about it, but Miss Steinman had closed the door when she exited my office, and I didn't want to knock and bother her. I had completed the filing, so I went to my new desk and started responding to customer inquiries myself. When Miss Welch exited her office, I looked up and was surprised to see that it was already after 5:30. "What a dutiful little secretary," she said. "You know that secretaries get off at 4:30, don't you?" "I didn't want to bother you, coming in to change." "What's to change? Did you want to wear your new pinstriped secretary suit home? Did you want the rest of your matching underwear? You know they're not really shown off to their best advantage unless you're wearing them under your new sheer blouse. Well, do what you need to do, and I'll see you tomorrow." Her teasing me about the underwear was somehow erotic, but she was out the door and gone before I had the opportunity to respond. I changed back into my own things, rinsed out the nylons and hung them in the closet, and headed out the door, pushing the button to lock it on my way out. When I exited the building, there was only one car left in the parking lot, and it wasn't my BMW. I quickly patted my pants leg and was relieved to feel the keys to her Volkswagen Beetle. I had planned to trade keys with her, but when I brought her things in from her car, my hands were full, and I had put them back in my pocket and forgot them. I sighed as I got in her car. At least I was getting good mileage. For a brief second, the thought passed through my mind that I had missed my opportunity to wear something more appropriate for the car I was driving. I chuckled to myself, those secretary pills are really something. As I drove home, I couldn't help wondering if I was going to hear from Miss Steinman after she reviewed the videos. I returned to the office the next day, relieved to find once again that Linda had arrived before me, although she was seated behind my desk. "Good morning, Linda," I greeted. "How are you this morning?" "Just fine, Nancy. Can I get you some coffee?" she offered. "No thanks, Linda. Caffeine seems to do funny things to me lately. You don't mind if I sit at my own desk today, do you?" "Not at all, Nancy. If you'd like, you can finish the one I've been working on, and then I'll review it for you." She was such a comedian. "I don't think that will be necessary, thank you. I finished all your filing yesterday while I waited for Miss Steinman to come out of the office. So you might as well finish it yourself. I will forward it to your computer. How did you get on with Miss Steinman?" "She's a real kick in the pants. She thought it was great that I put you in a pair of 4-inch patent leather heels." "She what? What did you tell her?" he demanded. "Relax, Nancy. I didn't want her thinking I had forced you into anything, so I explained to her that it was just a little role reversal for training purposes." "Oh, thank God. At least we got our stories straight." "That's exactly what I told her." She seemed a little surprised when I told her that you polished your own toenails, and that you asked to borrow a pair of knee-highs. I told her that all I had here was a garter belt and stockings, and that you opted to put them on anyway. Thank God she told me about the security videos up front. I knew I had to be totally honest with her. She sounded apologetic, but after the way. She had used the opportunity to pound nails in my coffin. I questioned her sincerity. "Thanks a lot for your consideration, Linda," I replied. "Hey, what else could I say, Nancy? Do you have your toes polished today, like a good secretary? She wanted to know. Now that you have nothing left to hide, we can have all sorts of office fun. I blanched, realizing I hadn't removed the toenail polish last night, but I was not going to tell her that. You know, I suggested, a person could wear that blue pinstripe skirt suit and still be the boss. In fact, I thought you looked pretty bossy in it. I think you're finally getting the picture, Nancy. When I wear it, it's a power suit, and I feel sexy and in control. When you put on the very same women's suit, you feel sexy too, but with or without your secretary pills, you still become a submissive sissy secretary. You see, it's not the skirt that matters, it's who's wearing it.
Right! That's me, instant sissy secretary. What a crock!
She was starting to really piss me off. Well, she said, everything you need is in the closet. If you want to put your money where your mouth is, I'll bet you the price of lunch that you can't wear your skirt suit until lunchtime without asking for some of my special coffee or doing something else totally submissive. You're on, I almost yelled. The girl was really getting to me. Can I trust you to get me a regular cup of coffee? I asked sarcastically. Of course, Nancy. She returned a short time later, placing a cup of coffee and 3 pills on the desk. I brought you your secretary pills too, Nancy, just in case. The next time you call me Nancy, you will find yourself drowning in the secretarial pool. Close the door on your way out, I instructed, waiting until I heard the door latch before I got up and went to the closet. Realizing now that almost everything I did was subject to electronic supervision, I changed into the skirt suit in the closet. The styrofoam dummy was looking at me from the shelf, and figuring what the hell, I grabbed the wig and pulled it on too. She was right, I did feel sexy. I felt even sexier when the ties that I stuffed into the cups of the bra ended up making the lace much more visible through the sheer blouse. I slipped my stocking feet into the 4-inch heels and strode back to my desk. Wow! I was ready to kick ass and take names. I knew I was feeling the power she had mentioned. She was wrong about me being a submissive. I was responding to a customer inquiry and sipping my coffee when there was a knock at the door. Enter, I commanded, now that I was Miss Powerful. Linda entered somewhat timidly and placed her bottle of red nail polish in front of me on the desk. I thought you might want this, boss, she offered, backing out obsequiously and closing the door behind her. Isn't that a nice change of pace, I thought, as I tried to resume my work. No matter how I tried to ignore that little bottle of red polish, my attention was constantly drawn back to it. I began rationalizing. When I was playing at being her secretary, and Miss Welch was the boss, she had been wearing polish. Miss Steinman had been wearing polish too, and no one would say there was anything submissive about her. Obviously, wearing nail polish was not in and of itself submissive. As I painted my nails, I imagined myself running the whole company. There I was sitting behind Miss Steinman's desk, in my blue pinstripe power suit, casually polishing my nails, while I had everyone around me stepping and fetching. I fantasized about the things I would do for a few more minutes as I waited for the polish to dry, then put the bottle in my drawer where it wouldn't keep distracting me, and got back to work. Not long after, there was a knock at my door. Enter, I said. Linda poked her head around the door, sniffed the air, and said, Is that nail polish? Sure is. Almost the same color as Miss Steinman's. Speak of the devil. Miss Steinman's On line 1 for you. Thank you, Linda. That will be all, I said dismissively. When she didn't move, I asked, is there something else? She told me to wait while you answered the phone. I picked up the phone, pushed the line 1 button and said, Bob Jenkins. Yes, she is. On the speaker? Yes, ma'am. I pushed the speaker button on my phone and her voice filled the room. Jenkins, I want you to know that I reviewed the videotapes from last Saturday. Yes, ma'am, I replied. I have also reviewed the files that Miss Welch completed while you were doing the filing, and I have been monitoring your work this morning. While I insist that my employees maintain a well-groomed appearance in the office, I do not pay you, Mr. Jenkins, to sit around polishing your nails. Step over to the video camera in the corner and look up into it. Several seconds passed in silence before her voice came over the speaker again, this time addressing Linda. Miss Welch, do you suppose you could do something about... There's no audio from the security cameras, so I'm not sure how you address Mr. Jenkins when she is your assistant. On Saturday, she agreed that I could call her Nancy, Ms. Steinman, Linda said, sounding entirely too happy to pass on that information. Under the circumstances, that sounds entirely appropriate. You may stop staring at the camera now, Nancy. Miss Welch, would you see if you can do something about the deplorable state of Nancy's makeup? I want to see her up here right away, but I don't want her to scare anybody, walking through the office looking like that. Right away, Mrs. Steinman. Will there be anything else? Linda asked, gleefully. No, Miss Welch. That will be all. You may consider this your office for the time being. Nancy, once Miss Welch has done what she can to improve your appearance, you will come directly to my office. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do you understand? Yes, Miss Steinman? Right away, Miss Steinman. There was a click, and the line 1 light went dark. Yes, Mrs. Steinman. Right away, Mrs. Steinman. I'll do whatever you tell me to, Mrs. Steinman. I am a submissive, and I want to be your secretary, Mrs. Steinman, Linda mimicked. You know this means you're buying lunch, don't you, Nancy? I should make you replace the makeup I'm using on you, too. She stepped from the room, returning in seconds with her purse. I will skip the details of my makeover. Suffice it to say that there was enough makeup in her purse to make me suspect I had been set up. My only other option was to quit, and I needed my job too much to even consider it. So I sat there quietly while she worked her magic. When she was finished with me, she scooted me from her new throne and sat down like a queen. She picked up the 3 pills I had completely forgotten about. Here. She dropped them into my palm. You might need these. I thought about taking them just to ease the humiliation of walking through the office, but I decided that they probably wouldn't kick in quickly enough to help. I would be better served to be in full possession of my faculties in dealing with Miss Steinman anyway. Only recently, I had felt powerful and in control in what Linda had called her power suit. Now I felt like a man wearing a wig, with his lacy bra clearly visible through his sheer blouse, wearing his secretary's heels, skirt and jacket. Thank God the skirt wasn't transparent too, or her matching panties and garter belt would be equally available for public perusal and appreciation. I decided that Linda was right. My clothing hadn't changed, but I had gone from a position of power, minimal as it might have been, to submissive underling in the course of a 2-minute phone call. I began to doubt what sort of boss I was. As I passed through the outer office, I slipped the pills into one of the tiny Ziploc bags that were used to send cable terminations. and then realizing I have no pockets, tucked the little packet behind the wadded-up tie that occupied one of the spacious cups of my bra. The day had already shown me that one never knew what was coming. I held my head up high, looked straight ahead, and strode as confidently as I could in 4-inch heels, directly to Miss Steinman's office. Her secretary, Mary, was wearing her well-practiced poker face. "She's expecting you, Miss Jenkins. Go right in." I strode into her office and stopped in front of her desk. When she looked up from whatever she was reading, I said, as calmly as I could, "You wanted to see me, Miss Steinman?" "Yes, Nancy. Have a seat. I'll be right with you." In a minute or so, she turned over the last page of the document she was reading and looked up, scrutinizing my face closely. When she opined that I looked much better now, I thanked her. She suggested that perhaps Ms. Welch might teach me how to do it for myself. When I asked her if she really thought that was necessary, she explained everything to me. After I spoke with Miss Welch the other day, I went back and checked the computer signatures on the correspondence from your office. Apparently, while performing all her regular duties, Miss Welch has also been able to generate more customer correspondence over the last 30 days than you have. I started to try to explain, but she cut me off. I know. You are in charge of the department because of your technical knowledge, not your secretarial skills. Nonetheless, you have been generating less work product than your assistant. Not only that, she did it while she also performed all the duties she was actually hired for. Yes, ma'am, he sighed. There was really nothing else I could say. Do you think that's fair? That Miss Welch should do most of the work, and you should get most of the pay? I decided to stick my neck out, since things were obviously turning to shit here anyway. Well, Miss Steinman, I've been told, and I'm sure you'll agree, that life isn't always fair. As the owner of the company, hopefully you are making more money than anyone else here. That does not necessarily mean that you are doing more work. What it usually means, or at least what it should mean, is that you are being compensated for some superior knowledge, skill, or talent. In the case of myself and Linda, she gave me the dirty eye when I said Linda, so I corrected myself. Miss Welch, if you prefer. I don't believe that my department could function at all without the technical knowledge that I bring to the equation. You know, if you weren't the kind of person who lets your secretary push you around, you might have some real management potential. She informed me with a chuckle. Thank you, I think. I have always thought that it was the responsibility of management, and in fact, in theirs and the company's best interests, to help employees reach their highest potential. Yes, I continued to help Miss Welch develop her technical skills, even when her letter-writing output threatened to exceed my own. Was I being foolish? You're a good enough businesswoman to realize that my doing anything less would have just frustrated her and wasted a valuable company asset. The Steinman gave me a thoughtful look, and taking it for encouragement, I continued. Only a boss that's insecure in his position, his person, or both, perceives excellent performance as a threat. I'm perfectly willing to admit that when Miss Welch suggested last Saturday that just for fun I should let her try being the boss, it was quite a challenge to my security. Still, I did what I thought was best for employee development and let her try being in charge. To be honest, this, I indicated my attire, is what happens to an insecure boss. I chuckled. I was doing my best to sound calm and reasonable, despite feeling like I was about to get the sack. Go on, she encouraged me. How did your insecurity result in you being the woman you are today? You're going to laugh, or at least I hope you are. I cleaned Miss Welch's things from Saturday and returned them today. I admitted that playing dress-up on Saturday had been okay, and she suggested that I keep her power suit in my office closet in case I wanted to be her secretary again. I jokingly said that if it was really a power suit, I could be the boss in it just as easily as I could be a secretary. She insisted that it wasn't the suit that mattered. It was the person in it, and she bet me the price of lunch that I couldn't wear until lunchtime without doing something submissive. Believe it or not, I put on the polish because of you, Miss Steinman. She brought the bottle in and put it on my desk, thinking that if I used it, I would be submitting. I remembered how beautiful your nails looked the other day, and I knew that there was no way she would call you a submissive, so I decided to call her on it. And here I am. You've made some very interesting observations about bosses and employees. She rose from her chair. Now it's your turn. You already have your nails manicured. Let's find out if that's really a power suit. Have a seat. When she pointed to her chair, I almost peed my panties. Come on, sit. I'm just as good a boss as you are, and I'm going to prove it. After I hesitantly occupied her chair, she took a seat in the visitor chair I had just vacated. You are now me. You have absolute power over the entire company. You feel comfortable and sexy sitting there in your pretty pinstripe skirt suit, knowing that within your realm you are omnipotent. Wait, I interrupted her. Is that really how you feel? Sexy and powerful at the same time? Sure, she admitted. Especially when I've just had a manicure. When I see my perfect fingernail on the desktop, I know I'm hot. Now, stop wasting time. You are the boss now, and every second counts. Every decision you make affects dozens and dozens of your employees. Mr. Jenkins is sitting here in front of you. She indicated herself. You know that as a good boss, you need to do something about how unfair the situation in his department is to Miss Welch. It's your move. She was dropping the whole thing in my lap. Well, Mr. Jenkins, I gave her a silly grin, and when I got a small smile back, hoped it meant I was on the right track. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to double your salary. There's nothing funny about this situation, Ms. Steinman, she replied. It was déjà vu all over again. Different parties, but the same insane name swapping Shenanigans. Very well, Mr. Jenkins. The company is going to get Miss Welch the technical training that she needs to replace you. It's clear that with the appropriate technical knowledge, her leadership skills, and her success at interacting with our customers, she would be a fantastic company asset. Now, in order to ensure that you are not punished for being a good department manager, and recognizing and developing Miss Welch's skills into a valuable asset for the company, we will have to find you another position in the company that does not result in you taking a pay cut. After all, I added with a big grin, you are a valuable company asset too. She laughed so hard, I thought she was going to hurt herself. You can take your crown off now, Nancy. Pointing my face down, I looked up at her shyly, and assuming my most submissive voice, I said, Yes, Ms. Steinman. "You little minx," she said. "Get out of my chair." "You have a fascinating sense of humor, and you don't seem to mind telling me how it is, or at least how you think it is. You will return to your office, that is, the outer office in your department, where you will finish the day as Miss Welch's department secretary, doing exactly what she tells you to do, including buying her lunch." She pushed her intercom button and instructed Mary to inform Miss Welch that it was her department now, and that Miss Jenkins would be finishing the day as her secretary. "You will return to this office tomorrow, dressed as you are now, with the exception that you will find something more appropriate to fill out your bra. My executive secretary, who is leaving me in 1 week, will train you to take her place. For a period of 3 months, you will be on probation and continue to receive your present pay. During that period, you will make yourself available to answer any technical questions Miss Welch may have. At the end of your probation, assuming you have successfully completed it, you will be offered the position with a 15% pay increase. If that is not acceptable to you, please let me know and I will arrange for someone to help you clean out your office. I'll know your decision tomorrow morning when I see how you're dressed. If you continue to work here, you will be known as Nancy Jenkins, and you will follow the appropriate dress code for a female executive secretary. But you haven't got a thing to wear. Do executive secretarias get a clothing allowance? Spoken like a true woman, Nancy. Perhaps when you inform Miss Welch of her impending pay raise, she will feel benevolent enough to let you help her clean out her closet. I'm sure some of her old things would be sufficient to get you started.